You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Tell me, what the fuck are brownies?
All right, so your brownie, I'm not talking about the brownies that your mother made whenever you were a little child. I'm not talking about the magic brownies that you might actually see a brownie with. I'm talking about the actual fey creature known as the brownie / the house elf. It goes by many of different names. In Scotland, that's really where they get the name from, is they called them the brownies. The Germans called them the kobolds. Scandinavia, they call them the Nissa or the Tanta. And England, just known as your typical house elf. There's plenty of different names of all over these different countries and folklore and everything, but I find it very strange. Although I know that people migrate, and have migrated for forever, right? Mm-hmm. And so maybe these old folklores and tales have just traveled with them. But I like to think that maybe, if you see something in one place, okay, that's just something that may have happened. Maybe somebody was making it up. If it happened in two places, you're just like, oh, that's kind of strange, but you're not going to look too far into it. Whenever you see it literally happening in dozens and dozens of different countries and communities and everything, that's whenever you got to scratch your head and be like, is there something real here that is not just folklore? Maybe there's something really going on beyond the veil, and that's what I like to get into.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and you also think everywhere you just listed were places that the Nordics conquered and invaded and had their influence in. So to say that they all saw something similar across the board, across the continent, right, across multiple centuries, they all would come up with names for it in different languages. They were all seeing the same thing. This makes perfect sense to me. So we are talking about a fey creature, or what could be classified as fey. Maybe it's a demon, maybe it's a fairy, who knows? We could have that talk. But my next question, how big are these things? We like leprechaun size? We talking like what we may consider a dwarf size? Like what's up?
Well, there's so many different accounts of this. And some people, I guess the original story of such brownies, they started out as regular, just normal sized people, anywhere from 5 to 6 feet tall. But as the legend goes, and as time went on, they, for some reason, ended up getting shorter and shorter and shorter, to where they're anywhere from about 1.5 to 3.5 feet. And that's where it gets into what all they really like to do, right? And so there's good ones and there's bad ones, supposedly.
Okay.
It's actually said to be good fortune if you have one in your house.
There seems to be a lot of crossover between what we would consider fairy or fey lore and elves. What is understood as elves. Are these all sort of the same type of entities? Is there a difference in different mythos based on different locations, based on different cultures? Or are they all considered under the same fey type of category?
Yes, they are in the fey category. They are they're like a type of elf, actually, is really what they're labeled as.
I've heard that. They give their own distinction, but at the same time, they are all under the realm or under the umbrella of fey creature. That's what I've heard. Just like you said, there's light and dark, right? There's good and there's bad entities on both sides.
And some of it actually depends on where you're hearing the story from.
Yeah.
So in the Germanic elves are seen as helpful creatures, whereas the Celtic elves are seen as sinister and dangerous. So a lot of times people will say, oh, well, that's just things that, parents made up to scare their kids into cleaning their room, right? And that happens throughout many of different folklore.
Indeed.
Right? What was the Louisiana one, right?
The Rougarou?
The Rougarou, yeah. Same thing. And, you could be doing it. You masturbate too much, the Rougarou will get you.
But if you cheat on Lent, if you are claimed to be a good cat, you cheat on Lent, boy, that Rougarou coming for you, bro.
Yeah. And so, I do like to get in. First, I'm going to go over what is called a Bogart. And Bogart or Bogart, not sure exactly.
I feel like I've heard both be used.
I think I've heard like a boggart before. That's interesting.
Maybe, but they're known as the prankster elves. And if angered, they could act like a poltergeist and destroy your whole house and your farm. So if you anger them, and I'm going to go through a whole list about how you should act in front of them, were you to see one, how you should leave your house, and just they're very emotional creatures,
so to
say the least.
Okay, I'm with you.
All right, so the Germanic ones is really what we're going to get into. They're seen as very prideful, very easily offended. They help get rid of some troublesome elemental creatures. So if you have like a bad entity, maybe a ghost or some kind of demon that's haunting or just staying in the house or whatever, if you have one of these little brownies, it's said to help get rid of that. So very good in that way. Nobody wants a demon around. You know,
so I wonder how much of this stuff is based off of either misunderstanding something that is happening in a person's reality, or maybe psychedelics or hallucinations, or coming into contact with something that was misunderstood at the time, or even just, like we were saying earlier, cautionary tales to keep you from doing certain things.
Well, I do believe that there was a time within humanity that we were a lot closer to nature. You know, nowadays there's all electricity, 5G. We're constantly looking at our phones or our TVs, or we're driving and listening to a radio, whatever the case may be. Our focus is never focused on what's really going on around us. And so I think if any time, this would be the easiest time for these little things to be running around and nobody really notice. Even the kids nowadays are on their iPads and their tablets and video games or whatever, right?
Well, you say that, but at the same time, and like you said, maybe a misunderstanding or a mistranslation or some other hallucinogenic, or possibly even just folklore, right? Things that just got translated down, and it is what it is. But I will say this, and you could look at this across history, across Northern Europe. These people, although, like for instance, in the Nordic tradition, you may not go through this massive sacrifice once a week like the Viking TV show would have you believe. Not every day is going to be some huge ritual. But every day you would be sure to leave a little bit of butter on a dish outside the back of your house to make sure to pay your tribute to the elves. Okay. You would definitely make sure to put salt at certain places of your house. Now you would say, oh, that's just superstition. Call it what you want. It was real to these people, so much so that they paid their tribute and they paid their dues to the environment around them. And part of that was these elves that they knew they couldn't see, but they knew if they left that butter, life just works out better for them.
Well, and there's something to say for allegory, right? Like anytime there is a story that is brought up time and time again, and it becomes well known within the human consciousness. It's like, what is it? The 100th monkey syndrome, right? That we all eventually pick up, and it all like basically seeps itself into each individual human consciousness. And if you really think about it, a lot of people believe that we are collectively one consciousness.
I still have never heard of that until you. I've always heard the wet monkey theory. You're the first person I've ever heard with the 100th monkey theory, dude.
Yeah,
I get it. But
yeah, dude. So I'm just gonna go through a couple of things that basically describe them. First of all, they're called brownies. A lot of people were wondering where they got that name at. I'm going to guess it's a little bit racist because they are brown-skinned creatures and are covered in brown hair. Okay. Sometimes they're covered in brown hair. Sometimes they're absolutely like a naked mole rat. Think of Dobby from Harry Potter.
Oh, wait, that naked mole rat looking bald, dude?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't invite that creature into my home if that thing was on my doorstep. That would freak me out.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I would look at this as just a crazy folklore fairy tale. If I had never seen any video of these creatures running around. This shit is crazy, dude. I actually had a cult member. That's what we call our listeners, our cult members. We had a cult member who sent the most clear and vivid little brownie running around in their kitchen. I don't know if it was them specifically or just a video they had found, but it couldn't be more obvious, dude. Now
wait, I think I've seen this. It's like this tiny, hairy, like on two legs creature walking around somebody's kitchen, and they're just like casually hanging with this thing, right? I've seen this video, dude. That is crazy.
It's wild, dude. And I actually found another. Yeah. Somebody got it on their front house camera.
I still couldn't figure out if they have like a really small midget in a costume or if that was like a legit thing. It looked pretty legit. I don't know.
Oh, dude.
Wait, when you say, did it look like an Ewok or something?
It was tiny, but it looked like a tiny little.
It looked like
creature person with hair.
What you would think an elf looks like. Like think
a gnome
without the beard.